Hey, it's him. I've seen him before in many things.
I've fitted some ferrite suppressors and some RF chokes, just in case.
Is he a ghost hunter?
I'm talking to the spirit that inhabits this house. Are you there?
And that must be...
Boom! Hello, I'm looking for a ghost. The Professor's companion.
Assistant.
It's 1974. You're the assistant and non-objective equipment, meaning psychic.
Getting there. Bless you, though.
For the ministry.
You know I can't answer that.
Very well.
The most compassionate people you will ever meet, empathics. And the loneliest. I mean, exposing themselves to all those hidden feelings, all that guilt, pain and sorrow and...
Doctor?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, she's real. In the 17th century, a local clergyman saw her. He wrote that her presence was accompanied by a dreadful knocking, as if the devil himself demanded entry.
Ugh. Yeah.
So we actually find her. What do we say?
We ask her how she came to be, whatever she is.
Oh. Okay, that was something else. It reminds you of the kitchen from that Agatha Christie episode.
He's certainly got the right demeanor. Capricious, brilliant.
Deceitful.
Yes. He's a liar. But, you know, that's often the way that it is. When someone's seen a thing or two, experience makes liars of us all.
Ugh.
We lie about who we are, about what we've done.
And how we feel.
You know, I have to be getting on with things.
Beautiful.
Do you feel anything?
Ah, that's a sign.
I think she's here. Doctor?
Is that the spot? Oh boy.
Okay. What is that?
It's it's a very loud noise. It's a very loud, very angry noise.
What's making it?
I don't know. Are you making it?
He's actually spooked. I like it.
Oh,
Bit of the hard stuff.
I'd rather have a nice cup of tea.
Me too. Whiskey is the 11th most disgusting thing ever invented.
11th. 11th.
I sent young men and women to their deaths. But here I am, still alive, and it does tend to haunt you,
Yeah.
living after so much of
A lot of guilt.
the other thing.
And if you could contact them, what would you say?
Well, I'd very much like to thank them.
What about you and the doctor?
Oh, I don't think so.
Good.
Sorry?
Don't trust him. There's a sliver of ice in his heart.
Clara!
So when are we going?
That is good. That is top notch.
Dude, did you see where he went? I could hear an engine, but I can't see any lights.
James. It reminds me of the classic orange suit, Tennant's suit.
I mean, 1 minute, you're in 1974 looking for ghosts, but all you have to do is open your eyes and talk to whoever's standing there. To you, I haven't been born yet. And to you, I've been dead 100 billion years. But here we are, talking. So I am a ghost.
Huh.
To you, I'm a ghost. We're all ghosts to you.
Wow.
We must be nothing.
Oh.
No, you're not that.
Then
The
what are we?
score.
What can we possibly be?
You are the only mystery worth solving.
What's wrong?
Just saw something I wish I hadn't.
What did you see?
That everything ends.
What if she's just trapped somewhere? Time runs more slowly than it does here. What if a second to her was 100,000 years to us? And what if somebody has a magic box, a blue box probably? What if said somebody could take a snapshot of her, say, every few million years?
Wow.
She's a pioneer, a time traveler, or at least she will be in a few hundred years.
Time travel's not possible. The paradoxes
Resolve themselves, by and large.
How long has she been alone?
Well, time travel's a funny old thing. I mean, from her perspective, she crash-landed, 3 minutes ago. She's in a pocket universe. A distorted echo of our own. They happen sometimes, but never last for long.
Tell me what I'm thinking.
I can't. I don't have your gift.
You don't need the gift.
it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that a portal?
It's a wormhole! A reality well! A door to the Echo universe! Ready!
Look at this, gothic. Hey!
Korean, I presume. Who are you? Clapton Universe, you and me dead. 2 minutes, no time, complete sentences, abandoned planet. Whoa! What's that? An echo house in an echo universe. Clever psychic. That is just top notch.
Top notch. That's a new thing he's saying. He almost looks naked. You know, okay, there it is. I was just gonna say. Oh.
Oh dear.
That's not good. Okay. Now is not the time.
Come on! Oh, let me in, you grumpy old cow!
Whoa.
You brought me back from the dead.
I'm programmed to select the image of a person you esteem. Of several billion such images in my databanks, this one best meets the criterion. Oh, you are a cow, I knew it! Whatever, you have to help the doctor.
Wow, look at him. He looks frightened, like legitimately.
You want me to be afraid? Then well done.
Yeah?
I am the doctor. And I am afraid.
Yeah?
So why am I still here, huh?
Right.
Why
Oh, so it can
not
escape?
just
It's trying to look for a...
eat me? Huh?
It's trying to hit
Come on.
your ride.
Yeah, you need me to piggyback you across.
There you go. Now some of the confidence is coming back. Whoa. Wow. Great acting. You really feel that took a lot out of her. Tell me more about her. Is that it for the creature?
You didn't come here for the ghost, did you?
No.
You came here for me.
Yes.
Why?
I needed to ask you something.
Then
About
ask.
Clara.
Clara,
Yes.
what is she?
She's a girl.
Yes, but what kind of girl specifically?
She's a perfectly ordinary girl. Very pretty. Very clever.
Yes.
More scared than she lets on.
And that's it, is it?
Look at this.
You haven't even been born yet.
No, you can't have met, but she can be your great-great-great-great-granddaughter, eh? Yours too, of course. But you guessed that already, didn't you? That's why the psychic link was so powerful. Blood calling to blood.
Ah.
Out of time. Not everything ends, eh? Not love. Hold hands. That's what you're meant to do. Keep doing that and don't let go. That's the secret. Every lonely monster needs a companion.
There's two of them!
You know, it's the oldest story in the
They got
universe.
separated.
Since then, they've been yearning for each other across time and space, across dimensions. This isn't
How
a
romantic.
ghost story. It's a
Love story.
love story.
You got a little too
Sorry.
chummy there.
Tiny favor to
One more time.
I'm sorry! I understand now!
Handsome.
Well, hello again, you old Romeo, you. Now. Get ready to jump.
Okay, yes. I've got to say, I enjoyed that. I did. It just had so many elements that are really kind of right up my alley. But before I go any further, it feels like this is so unique, right? In the sense that here you finally have this alien presence, right? And it's quite the creature design. And I love how, it's kind of skipping frames, right? That the janky and jerky movement of it. I mean, yes, it's a common trope, right? The misunderstood monster. But, the thing I really liked here is that it actually took the Doctor's offer. For once, someone actually took the Doctor's offer, right? Because that's been this ongoing thing, right? He's always there. It's one of the things that really stood out in Tennant's run. He gives them a chance. I'll give you a chance. I'll give you one chance. I could do this for you. Take it. Take my hand. Take my offer. But more often than not, or essentially at all times, it's declined. I thought the pacing was top notch. See, I'm using it as well now. That great pacing actually really allowed for the tonal shift that happens a few times actually, right? And how it kind of switches genres even, right? Of course, in the beginning, it's a great setup for a really, intimate, though of course, most of that episode is really quite intimate, but initially that intimate nature is really all about the atmospheric horror of this ghost story, right? And the setting certainly plays a big part here, right? I mean, it's clearly a location shoot, but I mean, it's beautiful. Some of these settings, especially in the final portion of that episode or the conclusion, right? Those pillars, and of course the estate itself. I'm sure it's a nice location. I'm sure someone's going to let me know the location. I hope so. I certainly hope so. And then of course the photography plays a big part. The lighting that this type of setting allows. A lot of low light shots, a lot of candles being used. I'm a big fan of candlelight shots, of course, enhanced by actual lighting as well. But it's always great to see if it can be sold on screen, right? That it is being lit up through that candle or those candles. And then of course the score plays a big part as well, because you can feel it, you can hear it changing and shifting throughout that episode to match the tone or the new tone that it's taking on as it progresses, right? Because ultimately it does kind of progress from a ghost story, right? And that tone to a much more familiar sci-fi tone, right? That is of Doctor Who, right? And that major shift really happens once you kind of get to find out about the true nature of this ghost. And then of course there's another great setting, the Pocket Universe setting. Let's put a pin in that. It is drip feeding things. I'll have a whole segment for Clara, right? I thought it was a great outing for Clara once again. But before I get too far into that aspect of it, let's kind of stick to this. The forest, right? There's even like a monster flick tone, right? Being chased down by a monster. And how about Matt Smith? Throughout that episode, I really, really enjoyed his acting. I mean, that's nothing new here, right? But it just continues. It still continues to impress. In that forest, you really buy that he is terrified, as he simply put himself as well, right? I am the Doctor and I am terrified, right? And you see that in his face. He sold that. Though, of course, in the first act, as Clara and the Doctor investigate and look for the ghost, even there, you kind of see that, maybe he's not as terrified as the Forest, but there is this unease about him as well, right? He is a little bit on edge. He is spooked out. It's this nervous excitement, essentially, right? And you see that it's being depicted through the acting. He'll have these really fun reactions, like he'll hear something and he'll just go, ugh, right? He's done that a few times, and he'll go into defensive mode, right? Or attack mode. He'll do his stance that I've seen a few times now. But how great are Clara and the Doctor together in that scene as well, right? I mean, it's been clear for some time now that there's a lot of great chemistry there. Of course, Clara continues to be fleshed out bit by bit, episode by episode. I think there's a lot of really significant moments here, actually, right? In the development of Clara, that character. I mean, there's a poignant moment inside the TARDIS as she essentially understands the true nature of all of this, or begins to understand the nature of all of this, right? Or begins to grasp the nature of this crazy thing she's a part of at this moment in time, and her role in all of this. Perhaps from her perspective, it felt really quite insignificant, right? And then you have the doctor and his role in all of this, right? And her perspective on that. In fact, a thing I really liked here is that she challenges the doctor's perspective in all of this, puts him in the hot seat and kind of starts asking the doctor to explain these things that he takes for granted, right? Because she's really having a tough time at that moment, right? As it hits her hard, right? The whole nature of all of this. And then, of course, one of the standout moments of the episode, that poignant line of dialogue, right? To you, I'm a ghost. To you, all of us are ghosts, right? That they must be nothing to him. Wow. And, it's really effective because it can apply to Clara specifically, and also all the companions before her, people that have joined the doctor on this. I think Clara is beginning to find a really unique position in this companion continuum, essentially, right? It's essentially a place between, reluctant and adventurous, right? It's somewhere in the middle. And I like that. They actually make it a point to show us that she's not always all in. She has second thoughts. She is afraid. The true reason for this trip in the first place, right? He didn't care about the ghost. He wanted to ask Emma about Clara, right? And of course, Emma's response, she's a perfectly normal girl, right? And the doctor was not expecting that, or he was hoping for something a bit more enlightening, perhaps. Now then, if you just assume that she is being truthful about that, and she actually believes and senses that, yeah, she's just a normal girl, right? Then that means that this is essentially square one, right? This Clara is before any of the other Claras I've seen so far, right? And that makes sense on many different levels as well, right? Like I mentioned a few episodes ago, this one is not as receptive, but the other ones are, almost as if there's this familiarity there, right? That there's been this time spent to kind of become attached to the doctor. And again, I'm not speaking of the romantic attachment, though of course it's hinting at that as well a bit, though I like that, the doctor physically recoils almost, realizing that he's getting a little too hands-on there, right? Getting a little too close, especially as he's speaking of, this romantic story of these creatures, right? Yearning for each other. Again, not through dimensions, but I don't know, across space and time. And actually, I am enjoying the Clara and TARDIS butting of heads, the conflict, right? The banter. It makes for some great scenes, for sure. I mean, there's some really fun scenes in this one, but, beneath it all, or beyond all of that, there's a significant reason that there is a bit of friction there. The TARDIS is standoffish because ultimately Clara is this anomaly, right? This outlier. Perhaps it's being protective of the doctor. But also, let's not forget, the TARDIS also kind of considers a lot of the companions strays, right? So it's not as if Clara's treatment of the TARDIS or her opinion of the TARDIS at the moment, calls her a cow a few times. I don't think it's completely unjustified. I think, the back and forth is really interesting and entertaining for that reason, because the TARDIS also has a spiky personality at times that has been established, right? Though those bells are going off as well at one point as the Doctor is stuck in the parallel universe. Sorry, not parallel. No, let's take that back. Let's reel it back in the pocket universe. So, that's a big deal, isn't it? The bells going off. I've really only heard those bells a few times throughout the run, right? And they've been at really significant moments. So I think that is something I should really keep in mind as well, right? The moment he gets stuck in the pocket universe, you have the bells going off here. And of course, the last time I heard these bells are in the hotel room, right? In the God complex as well. So it's a rare moment. It's a unique moment. Anytime those bells go off. But also, before I forget, that line of dialogue, again, being effective because it can be applicable to Clara specifically, and then of course the human race. And I'm speaking of the Doctor's response to Clara, right? No, not that. Never that. You're the only mystery worth solving, right? So yeah, He's speaking of the human race or humans in general. And again, his infatuation and his interest and his love for the human race, it dates back all the way to series 1. And then, of course, perhaps much, further back in classic Who. But I can only speak for myself, right? Series 1. But then it certainly applies to Clara as well. But also that raises another question. How exactly could Clara react to finding out that the reason she's on the TARDIS, the reason she is joining the Doctor, is for something else entirely? Because listen, let's be honest, the main reason, or a significant reason for having Clara here in the first place is so he can crack this mystery, so he can study her, right? And he takes her to different places, and of course there's a bit of an ulterior motive here as well. He wanted to ask Emma about Clara. So to me, any potential reaction to that, or finding out about this, that he has met her before, or again, it's tough to say, right? Echoes of Clara through time, at different moments in time. I think there is perhaps another confrontation on the horizon, right? Perhaps another case of Clara calling out his behavior, potentially, if she was to find out about this. I mean, sooner or later, yes, he's going to have to explain it, right? But I don't think it's anytime soon. And then finally, how about the supporting cast, the guest appearance cast in this episode? The Professor and Emma. These are just fantastic one-episode characters, right? I think a good sign of these types of characters is if it leaves you wanting to see them again. Yes, it does. I think that's a good sign, right? And I think they've done a great job here establishing these characters over the span of this one episode. To me, they felt like these fleshed out, actualized characters, right? Believable characters, competent characters. They're not some, they're not some clueless and helpless characters that the Doctor has to come in and save. I mean, you feel that these are impressive people in their own right. And I thought they had great on-screen chemistry as well. And I thought they did a great job of portraying that really unique relationship that they have, right? Of course, by the end of it, it really gets fleshed out, and it's really quite in the open. Their feelings are really quite in the open, or at least the Professor's, who is essentially a parallel to the Doctor as well, right? I felt that the actor playing Emma did a great job here, right? She really pulls off this subtle damage disposition, right? That there is fragility there, right? That, that portrayal of the effect her condition or her unique situation can have on a person. That continual pain of being in that situation and kind of being exposed to so many different feelings, right? But all of that being said, I don't think it portrays her as a passenger either. Like I mentioned, she's quite competent. But I mentioned Matt Smith's acting. I think one of the great moments of this episode is his reaction to the things he learns about the Professor, right? This reluctant hero, war hero, right? Who struggles now to kind of understand just why he's still alive, right? Given the fact that he's caused so much death, he sent so many to their own death, right? That survivor's guilt. I mean, it's a deliberate parallel. He is a deliberate counterpart to the Doctor because, of course, our own Doctor has centuries of survivor's guilt, right? But I loved how he reacts to this, right? He just listens. And I think his acting, his facial acting, is more than enough to depict his feelings in that moment, right? That he gets it, he understands. I love that they didn't take that approach of him kind of actually voicing it. You and me, yeah, there's a lot in common there. I love the subtle approach, and you can read all of that in Matt Smith's face at that moment, right? In the Doctor's face, right? The sympathy, the empathy, the understanding, right, of the situation. And then, there's other parallels like the Doctor and this, big mystery of Clara, him really wanting to solve this. And then, of course, the Professor really wanting to figure out the whole ghost situation, right? And of course, there's the whole, Professor and Emma companion aspect to this, right? But she actually goes on to become a companion. And of course, another really great scene here is of the Professor and Emma, right? Kind of discussing the nature of the Doctor, because both of them picked up on it, right? That he is deceitful, right? That he is prone to lying, quite a bit of lying. But also that doubles as the professor indirectly kind of speaking of his own feelings, right? Because again, there's quite a parallel to the doctor. So he is able to kind of indirectly speak with Emma, right? And kind of explain himself as well. And, Emma, of course, picks up on it. She picks up on it. That whole notion that experience makes liars of us all, right? Yet another great line of dialogue in this episode. Going always. I like that one as well. I really did. But yeah, this notion that there's a lot of pain and sorrow kind of hidden behind that barrier of lies. And lastly, I really enjoyed the dynamic that Emma and the doctor had in this, right? Of course, she was really quite standoffish. She didn't really like him all that much, right? She even tells Clara to kind of, be on the lookout, be on your toes, that this one has a sliver of ice in his heart. And I'm not sure he endears himself to her, as he kind of does start asking about Clara and her nature and, the type of person she is, So yeah, I don't know. I thought that was really interesting. That she did have this standoffish attitude towards the doctor right from the beginning. Yes, there's a few fun moments. He does get her to smile every now and then. But yeah, I think that's about it for this one, folks. Ultimately, every monster needs a companion. Every lonely monster needs a companion. See, yet another great line of dialogue there that is applicable to many things that are going on in this episode. Yeah. Okay, so if you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you're interested in full length or perhaps even early access to the next episode right now, consider checking out the Patreon page. Right then, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for your time, as time is precious. So I really do appreciate it. And I do hope to see you again soon for the next one. Until then, take it easy.